Warren, Massachusetts Planning Board agenda for Monday, August 22nd, 2022 at 7:15 p.m. Agenda item number 3. Public hearing on special permit number 302 for Samek Properties LLC under Section 8 of the Warren zoning bylaws. The applicant is seeking a special permit to remove earth material from the property located at 275 Brimfield Rd, Warren. This parcel is also known as Assessor's Map Lot 4, which is in the rural district. A copy of the application may be inspected in the office of the planning board or town clerk's office during normal business hours. Here is a copy of the application dated 6/22/2022, permit number 302, Samek Properties LLC, 85-4 Bethany Road, Munson, Mass. 01057. Telephone number 413-893-9005. Cell phone number 413-244-8116. Owner, if other than applicant, is the same. Parcel information is map 30, lot 4, which lies in the rural zoning district. Worcester County Registry of Deeds information, book number 67417, page number 368, plan recording 381-8. Okay, continuing on to page 2 of 3. Special permit applications being requested under Section 8 of the zoning bylaws. This is where the problem lies, which was found during this meeting you're going to watch in a second, that the planning board and the applicant lied. So they're claiming a renewal of an existing operating permit for R.J. Fiegel, Robert J. Fiegel, screening materials on site and earth removal. And the reason why this is a problem is because that permit expired in 2013 and you cannot renew somebody else's permit, nor can you renew a permit that expired in 2013. Representative, there isn't one. Signature of owner. Okay, continuing on to page 3 of 3. Signature of petitioner, that is Michael Sanek, S-A-N-E-K, 6/22/2022. Filing fee $300 paid, July 6, 2022, 3-something p.m. by the town clerk, Laura J. Stockley. Okay, this is a separate page. It's the application for earth removal, application number 302. This now has a new date of July 12, 2022. Applicant's name, Samek Properties. Telephone number 413-893-9005. Address 85-4 Bethany Road, Munson, Mass. 01057. Property address 275 Brimfield Rd, Warren. And in the bottom section here for activities that they're claiming, 1 active work area, roughly estimate of open acreage in each, 4 acres. Storage material type loam, rock, fill, gravel, quantity NA. And then they filled out this other section for 1 screener, no conveyors, no backhoes, 1 loader, and then other skid steer, site, truck, excavator, and signed by the applicant on 7/12/2022. And now to the Warren Planning Board video. Now that you're done watching the end of the video, as you can see, the planning board changed their tune. They now told Mr. Samek that his application is null and void, that he cannot get a renewal on a previous expired Robert J. Fiegel permit from 2000 era. He now has to submit a brand new application, including site plans. And all the other documentation that he was supposed to submit, he never did, because the planning board instructed him, don't need any of that, just fill out the piece of paper. That turned out to be a big lie in front of the planning board, that the planning board provided him wrong information and apparently promised him wrong information. So stay tuned for parts 2, 3, and 4, because they're going to be very interesting, because guess who contaminated the Brimfield Road gravel pit, which is now the Sanek property? Oh look, a Warren police Humvee. And in this picture is Bruce Bukowski, the former chief of police, right there. That is current chief, Jerry Millette, was driving that at the time. This video and pictures were taken back several years ago, and they were doing shooting in the Brimfield Rd property, which used to be the Feature property, now owned by Samek Properties LLC. Why is this here? Because that was the Warren Police Shooting Range for roughly 7 to 12 years. Don't have the exact information, but at least 7 to 9 years, roughly. And it was an unpermitted shooting range, and it was called the Warren Police Department Shooting Range. There was no state, federal, or town permit. It was not permitted as a shooting range. It did not have any safety precautions as a shooting range. It did not have any environmental contamination or procedures for lead and shell casings. And moving to the next picture. Oh, gee, what do you know? The two police chiefs are responsible, as well as other Warren police employees, for contaminating that property. That's Bruce Spakowski with his bright gold badge. Right there is Jerry Millette in the gray shirt. If I go to this picture, definitely Jerry Millette, right there with sunglasses. Police plate, Warren Police Humvee. So if you're West Warren Water District or Warren Water District customer and your water contains chemicals or is polluted, guess who to blame? The two police chiefs and former Warren police officers. Additional pictures coming, and these are in town records, in the Board of Health's office, in the Board of Selectmen's office, in the town clerk's office, are additional records. These are just 3 that I decided to show you. Reed Street contamination from before. Of course, nobody in the town wants another Reed Street contamination issue. Confirmed hazardous waste sites that are under investigation or at various stages of enforcement and remedial action. April 1985. Right there, what do you know? Town of Warren, S&S Automotive, Reed Street contamination, Samek Property. Oh, I just showed you the application is Samek, and the Samek family is responsible for contaminating Reed Street. Illegal disposal of drums containing hazardous waste occurred at this site and on the property next to the site, contaminating the soils. Who is the owner of S&S Automotive? Oh, gee, I have that too from the DEP records from the 1980s. Raymond Samek, S-A-M-E-K. Principal Office of S&S Automotive, Reed Street, Warren, Massachusetts. So now you know why, if you're a Warren Water District customer or a West Warren District customer, you should be contacting and attending these planning board meetings for Samek Property LLC because, again, the selectmen, David Dufresne, Derek Valise, Richard Ihacker, all have these records of Warren police from previous years contaminating Brimfield Rd property. So yes, you should be concerned. You should be attending these meetings. You should be asking the 3 selectmen during a Warren Planning Board meeting, why did they allow, and why did 2 sets of previous selectmen and 2 sets of planning board members prior to them contaminate the property and endanger your water supply? So stay tuned. As I said, parts 2, 3, and 4 are going to be very interesting.
Recording in progress.
It should be on HDMI 1.
So it works.
number 302, anybody want to read it, please?
Public hearing on special permit number 302 for Samek Properties LLC under section 8 of the Town of Warren zoning bylaws. The applicant is seeking a special permit to remove earth material from the property located at 275 Brimfield Rd, Warren. This parcel is also known as the census map 30, lot 4, which is in the rural district.
Thank you. And who is here representing that? You want to come up front, please? State your name.
Michael Samek.
Hi, Michael. So what do we have you here for?
Gravel permit, but Mitchell's old pit. I'm just gonna carry on what he's been doing since they opened. Basically, move gravel room, screen room, 2-minute per bill.
Any questions from the board?
It's already an active,
Active pit, one of the first ones in the town of Warren.
you're not breaking new ground, you're
No,
not doing anything.
everything's gonna stay the same plot plan, same diagram.
Do you understand the concern that the West Warren Water District has?
Yep.
Okay, you're willing to abide by that? Okay.
Well, okay, there's something new.
Well, they want you to stay, no storage of vehicles, gas, oil, or other chemicals within zone 1, 400 feet of the wells without a liner.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, the liner would have to be approved by the West Warren Water District.
Yeah.
So we just put that in the conditions.
Any more questions from the board?
It's an existing, just pretty cut and dry, switching over to owners, and they're willing to comply with the West Warren Water District's, concerns. And that's putting a liner 400 feet of the wells, no vehicles or anything that chemicals be on the line without a line. So that resolves your concerns, correct? Yeah, everybody else has it.
And the building inspector, he's gonna conduct every year the inspections, correct? It's not, we plan to.
Yeah, there'd be an inspection every year by the building inspector.
That's not wrong.
Okay.
Building commissioner, that's what I'm. Building commissioner, the building commissioner will, every year will inspect it.
No, if you see something we need to do, we'll do it. No problem.
Do we have any questions from the public?
Yes. A lot of questions. I noticed on the application that it says renewing existing operating permit. I was to believe that there was no permit on that property. So why is it being renewed?
Huh, that's a good question.
October 2021, you told us there were no active permits for any of the pits. On April 11th, you stated none of the pits had permits and nobody was supposed to be working those pits. Mr. Samek's been working those pits since then. There's been a lot of alteration there. We put up with a lot of noise, a lot of dust, days in, days out, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night, weekends, all hours, Sundays, holidays. I couldn't even have company on a Sunday for a picnic on our deck because the trucks were so loud.
Whenever you're gonna address the board, just to reiterate what Mr. Louise said, identify who you are and what your position is with the town, or if you're in a butter. This way.
Charlene Barris, I'm in a butter.
Thank you.
So I don't understand why you're here for a renew on a permit that didn't exist.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
I've had a lot of complaints in the past when Mr. Fijo owned it of contamination that was pushed aside by the former Board of Health. I have documentation to it. They stated there was no contamination, there were no pictures, there's no written report whatsoever in the Board of Health. I have pictures. They said there were none taken. They are in the Board of Health computer. Nothing's ever been done with that. We are very concerned. The DEP squashed my complaint because they said they saw nothing but 2 little oil spots.
So Ms. Ferris, are you speaking on, for the Board of Health, or are you
No,
speaking as
abutter.
a butter?
As the abutter,
Okay, because you do hold a position on the Board of Health.
that's why I said former Board of Health.
Okay.
I made that clear. It was from the former Board of Health that I got the paperwork that I got.
So, just so you know, in your position, because you are in a butter adjacent to this property, you can't speak on behalf of the Board of Health.
Oh, no, I'm
You have
not.
to recuse yourself for that position.
Oh, I'm not speaking on as
Okay.
Board of Health. My documentation all came before I was on the board. Any complaints I filed with DEP were before I was on the board.
Just wanted to clarify,
Yep.
so there's no misconceptions.
Anybody I have spoken to about this is aware that I'm on the board, but I'm speaking as a citizen, as a resident of the town, and a butter to the property, not from the Board of Health.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, David.
So, my understanding was the permit transferred, or can it be transferred from Vigil to
No.
a new owner? So therefore, this would be a new permit.
There's nowhere in the bylaws or any permits we've gone back anywhere that says it can't be transferred. We've always been transferred to Parkettes, Bowen's added one, I mean, permits can be transferred.
I said expired.
All of them expired in the town. Well,
Yeah, so, and everybody's reapplying, we're going through the whole process again, because all the permits were not followed through and nobody renewed them. So we're going forward with them and trying to get them all up to date, and I think we're being fair, things were put out. We're following through with all these permits because we have the building commissioner doing annual inspections of the sites. The board, planning board is no longer doing the inspections. It's the building commissioner's, job to do that, okay? So we're making sure going forward, everything is done by the book. All the permits were expired, so you're not a renewal, you would be a new permit.
Now, is anything changed for what we already put in the paperwork? No, okay, alright.
I mean, you can't renew a permit that doesn't exist.
Right.
Makes sense.
So this would be a new application.
Was it put in as a new app?
No.
I don't think we have renewal application.
We don't yet, we don't have any permits, so.
They have to request it. Or not, they have to request
An extension, because you're allowed 3 extensions, correct? 3 years each?
5 years.
5 years each. Yeah, okay. So with a new permit, in 5 years, you can request another 5-year extension.
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3, yeah,
It's 5 years initially.
because it's
and
3,
every
5 years and
extension
3 years.
which gives you another 9 years.
without.
Yep. So it's 3 years.
But my question is, as an abutter,
Isn't it?
he's been working in that pit with no permit.
Okay.
Why was that allowed?
So you're saying that right now, we have not had him, we have not heard from him yet, okay? So you're making an accusation, and it's up to us to look into it now, if that would happen, okay?
Also, as a planning board, we don't have the authority to police all these activities. Planning board decides the use of the land, and that's where our work is. We can decide if it's gonna be a McDonald's, or if it's gonna be a pit. After that, that's why I say at the beginning, our building commissioner is gonna go every year to inspect.
I have contacted her on this, and she has not gotten back to me. I've spoken to the town administrator, the building inspector, I have met with both of them when all this was going on.
Do you have anything else?
Oh, yeah, I've got a lot. I mean, I don't believe our property, the buffer, as we didn't go on his property, but my husband measured from his tags to the edge of the property, approximately 35-foot buffer on my backyard.
We haven't changed nothing from her property. We haven't gotten it near her property.
You gotta remember, because it's a new permit, what was going in the past has to comply with the new
Yeah.
bylaw.
Well, we haven't even been near her property. We haven't even been in the back corner, doing back and cleaning trees and nothing until all of a sudden.
The property was never closed properly by Mr. Beecham. It was never terraced, it was never reseeded, and nobody had worked that pit in years. I don't believe he worked that pit after his father passed away, and nothing was ever done. In fact, they shot into it. They used it as a shooting range. So the back hill on my property is riddled with lead. That is a main concern. I have well on.
So it can't be anything less than 20 feet. No evacuation below the natural grade. Any lot boundary shall be permitted nearer than 20 feet to such boundary, unless the abutting land is subject to vertical flow.
Which I know is a lot of the aspect of the deal on the street. What we looked at. Can you share that on the street?
So you're saying it was 35 feet?
Approximately 35 feet. From where the flags are, we don't even know if that's our property line.
Do you have property plans? Of your
I
land?
personally don't, but I can,
So it's difficult for you to say it's close to your property line when you say the same
well,
question
where do you
that
put
you
the
don't know where it
flags?
is.
They've got flags posted everywhere. It's stuck in the ground.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So maybe I'm wrong for assuming that that's our property line.
Okay,
Sorry.
unless you have your property line marked out clearly, okay, then you can't assume it's your property line until you know it for fact. I would hire a,
Surveyor.
somebody to go out there and survey the property and do the line.
I'm gonna pay for that. That's not right.
Well, it's your
If
property.
he should be surveying that area to make sure that he has the proper buffer away from my
So as
property.
far as, you're the one coming to us saying that he's close to your property line.
Mhm.
So that would be up to you to prove that. Okay? I know exactly where my property line is on my property. Whenever you purchase a house, it's pretty much clearly marked for you, and you know where it is. If you're saying he's close to your property line, but in the same statement, you're saying you don't even know where your property line is, how do you know it's close to your property line?
Where the approximate property line
That could be 10,
is.
15 feet in either direction, and he'd be good. And if he's 35, and it's, the bylaw only requires 20, he's good. He's good.
Excuse me, that's not what it says on this paperwork. Not on his application anyway. His application said 100 feet.
Is it 20 or 100?
It's 100 feet. It's written right here. This is the paper. It's on his application.
Right, then so you have to have a plan.
It states a land distance of at least 100 feet showing all man-made features, property lines, vegetated cover, soil characteristics, and drainage systems. It's 100 feet. That's in his application.
What, house number are you?
331. I have maps if you want.
With you?
Yep. Mine is number 6. This is number 1. And also contain wetlands.
Oh, 100 feet. It doesn't say that there's a boundary.
This has nothing to do with property.
It has nothing with the bond, that doesn't say a boundary. I was just showing people.
Oh. Property limits. Okay. There was no site plan or anything filed with this. There were no other attachments.
Do we have number three, that plan?
There was no plan.
So if you didn't submit everything with it, the only thing we can do is continue and make sure everything's submitted properly.
That's back on the slide.
Are you listening?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so, because we,
You're gonna give one a chance to speak first.
okay, so why don't we listen to you now about what she said and what we have to do right now, the situation.
As far as the work that's been going up there, private property, I'm allowed to move dirt around. I'm not in the 4 acres of the pit design, 4 acres in the back section. The front section next to the gates, we've been working, because we were gonna propose to put a building up, so we're moving dirt around. Yep, we have. We called the cops on us many times. The cops that came, they said, we can't stop working on personal property. My kids are up there, my grandkids are up there, we're all working. Yeah, it was Father's Day. There was 20 of us up there, I got 15 grandkids, we're all there working. She was at the gate, cops didn't have any problems, and then he said the noise and the dust. Well, they sat across the street in the dead end road, they couldn't hear the equipment, they didn't see the dust. They said we can carry on, they did not have a problem. As far as that's what we're doing, yeah, that's what we're doing, slope, cleaning the slopes up. Bobby's been up there since the 70s, so we're cleaning it all up.
There's no doubt that he's friends with Bobby and John Fiegel, obvious by the statements that he's saying.
Getting all, everything prepped, well, I got time to do it. You know, I work 7 days a week, so when I got time to do it, that's when we work up to. We don't start at 7 in the morning. I make sure of it. So for her say at 7 in the morning, 7 at night, that's, I'm not even gonna get into it, but it's not true.
Okay, so you're gonna have to continue this, so you can, submit your application with those attachments.
We're attaching something.
You'll see on the, it's 154 on the application. So like there's an abutters list, there's proof of ownership.
We already got the abundance list now, right?
We don't have a copy of it.
It's technically supposed to be from the person that's in the assessment. So that was sent out, that's how.
I was told that's what was gonna be done, the abutters were already notified.
They were.
So that should have been done already, I thought.
Okay. What about proof of ownership?
That might be with the top.
That's transferred into the town, right?
So with all those, that's all the documentation that you're required to provide with your permit. Okay, the requested permit, the application there.
That was your assumption that it's all done already? That's your-
Well, you know what happens when you say assume, right?
All
right.
When we dropped us off, we were told that they had everything, that's why.
Well, it says right on there what you're supposed to be providing to us to get the permit. Okay, so we need to have that. It's not up to us to do all that footwork and chase down your permit and your documents. That's up to you, sir. Along with doing the plan on there too. There's guidelines on what you need to be doing on that too. We still haven't gotten that. So Richard,
Can I say something? This came after the fact, though. This is not originally what the town clerk gives. This extra, which listed, I don't know what's exactly on the website. So all this additional stuff was not for actual special permit. This is included since our new packet, which they didn't get because
We
they
turned
already
it,
applied.
we
They're
turned
not-
in everything we're required, that's what I'm.
they haven't signed by him?
Somebody filled that out.
Yeah, this was given afterwards, not in the meetings.
Okay.
Yes, on 7/12.
But when we turned in, it's that part there.
Yes, originally this is, and then this came out.
Right, and he signed it and he acknowledged it. Just making sure we're doing everything going forward that we should be doing.
All right, so this was done on June 22nd. And then this one was done when? July 12th.
We got that one emailed to us at formality, but we also had all the paperwork, just the first one all set and done. We just had to sign it and send it back in. My daughter does all the paperwork, so she would know more than me.
I was right, a woman filled out the application.
So we sent that to you because we needed these documents to move forward. And that's what the building commissioner is gonna need to do her thing. So that's why we need those documents, and that's why you were given this information, so we can get that from you. Okay?
Just Carl, say your name.
Lori Jenna, my father, wrote paperwork. When I dropped the paperwork off, like Jill had said, the new form was not out yet, and I was told that that was everything that needs to be submitted. She did say that sometimes there is a site plan that's included, but it's not a requirement, or is what I understood from that original application. The next one that was emailed, I was told that it was just like an updated form. I think somebody had told me, I think it was emailed, and she said, is there anything else you want to add? It was there was no requirement, and from what I understood, everything was already, that was submitted, which was only the one paper, was what we needed.
That's why I understand your situation, that's why we're gonna continue it.
Okay.
It's like, imagine, he's my neighbor, and I'm here, I'm gonna make a 100-story building. He may not like it, he may like it, so we gotta see what I'm thinking, what we want is you to show us, this is what we're gonna do.
Okay,
And then we can talk about it, the water can come and say, hey, you can't go 200 feet from this point. And after that, when we approve it, we give you all the conditions, like, you know, you can work from this hour to this hour, all these days, not on Sundays, etc. That's how it works.
okay. So the only thing we have to submit is the site plan, because all the abutters have been notified already?
Yes, because
So the only
about it, I think notified, what we need to know is your project.
Okay, so that's just the site plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Look at the list.
yeah, we got four our house. Alright, so, alright, we got the free for continue it till the next week. Okay, that's fine. Now, as far as working on private property, what's the complaints are, I'm able to move dirt on my own property, right? Right now, it's private property, according to you guys, there's no pit from it. So am I able to move dirt and work on my own property?
Technically, you're in the process of getting a permit, so
On the
you're
back,
looking
on the
at,
back 4 acres, I got 13 acres, so I'm working on the front acreage, there's that.
which is not the permitted portion.
Exactly.
So I think as long as he doesn't move any dirt off the property.
Right.
Just moving it around.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
moving
you're
it
building
around.
a house. Alright, so I can't move no dirt off the property until you guys see me, okay?
Yeah,
Let's
that-
stay out of the permitted, where you're permitting, stay out of that area to have your permit. Because now you brought it to us and you're going through a process now. But as far as your private property, you're clear to do with what you do on your private property.
Yeah, that's what I was under the assumption, but, you know,
And if neighbors have disputes about that, they can take you to court, they can dispute it that way, but it's not for us. It's not for us to say, okay, that's your private property, sir, we're not gonna tell you what to do with it.
I'm good with that.
Can we just be nice with the neighbors and, you know, like everybody else? 1 second, Joyce.
I mean, you gotta be courteous.
I'm just gonna repeat it again. The planning board decides what's the use of the land. After that, we have no control out of it. So if we approve a McDonald's and they make a Burger King, we just do like that.
Well, I'm a farmer, so, you know, and I'm a firm believer, if you get a problem with a neighbor, come over and see, try and work it out. Not
Give me a break.
Joyce,
whatever.
Yeah, I just wanna,
Joyce, just make sure you, just,
oh, I'm sorry, I'm, Joy Flyhopper, from World Conservation. And the.
Yeah, Richard's wife.
There's a topsoil bylaw, so if you are moving topsoil off, there's a limit on the amount that you can move off of your property, but just know that. You know, again, likely we're not gonna know that you're doing it, but if you have if somebody calls and says, you know, they're moving
Well,
topsoil.
yeah, but as far as once I get the permit, I can do what I want. Right?
No, there's still the topsoil bylaw in town.
There's like 10,000 barrels of room up there, so it's previous brought in the stream,
Yeah,
so I can move that up. Right?
you can, I guess so.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Who's that, the zoning?
There's like, they're in the topsoil bylaw, I'm gonna go and just check it out. It doesn't like.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure.
But if you just have a big pile on it,
It's, you're saying this is loam that's already been screened and it's just in a pile, right?
Well, there's one screen room and there's one screen room.
But it's piled, you wouldn't be.
No, I'm not
you're not,
excavating.
you're not.
Nothing you're excavating.
No, we're not stripping them.
Like an existing resource.
Just wanna get that.
You're doing sand and gravel.
Yeah, screen, sand, gravel, and screen room, yes.
Yeah, so it's an existing, I don't, yeah, I would just double check what the language says, but I think that you should be okay.
So it's Article 11 in the general bylaws, not the zoning bylaws, page 46. But I think it's right, it's topsoil, not gravel and sand, that's the concern.
Yeah, if I strip it off the property, I can't take it off.
Yeah, you get like 500 cubic yards, I think.
Yeah, per year or something like that. But if you're not doing that, then it's fine. Yeah, I will just review this to make sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
are there any more questions before we continue this?
Rest-
Yes, I have an opposition.
Go ahead, Linda, identify yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Michael Burrill, 899 Coy Hill Road. Also live in Uxbridge. I'd like to voice my opinion for opposition of this permit. I know you are continuing, but I just have some stuff I'd like to go over. So,
Okay, go ahead.
all right, thank you, sir. The first question is the planning board went out and inspected this property on October 2, 2021. My question for the board is, why did the board go out and conduct an inspection knowing that the meeting prior to that on April 11th, that there was no permit? So why would you be inspecting something that doesn't have a valid permit is my question.
I think we didn't even know that.
I don't think we knew that it did not have a valid permit when we did the inspection.
Correct.
Okay, so it turns out you went and according to the town's records, the planning board went there on Saturday, October 2, 2021. It was April, at that time, yes, it appears that you could have known that it didn't have a permit.
Mr. Burrell, you're getting off subject. This is a new permit.
Okay.
We're going to new guidelines, new owner, new permit.
Okay.
You're getting off subject.
Oh.
We do have, but all those permits, were expired and we're taking care of it right now. We're having everybody reapply.
Okay, but I filmed your planning board meeting almost a year ago when you had mentioned that you were going to be working on the permits. That was June of last year that it was brought to my attention, and I have that on video. So we're now in August of 2022, all these time later. The other thing that I'd like to mention is a question to the applicant of who S&S Automotive is on Reed Street in Warren.
Mr. Burrell, you're getting off subject again. All right, has nothing pertaining to this permit.
Okay, so okay.
If you have a question to the applicant, I suggest you get with him directly.
Okay, I can do that. Sorry, I can do that. I can speak with him directly.
It's up to you and him.
Okay.
If he wants to talk to you, you want to reach out to him. He said he's willing to talk to any of his neighbors.
Okay. All right. And the last thing I have is I had lodged a complaint to the building inspector because I have a serious concern with the two water districts and the public water supply. So that property is actually in the watershed protection district, and according to the bylaws, the building inspector has major authority over that. So I have an email dated October 7, 2021 that I sent the building inspector and carbon copied the planning board members of requesting an environmental concern over the public water supply of that property. I received no reply from the building inspector.
You're off subject again.
Michael, sorry to interrupt you, but we are talking about a new permit.
Yes.
We have nothing to do with the building inspector.
Yes, but the building inspector has the authority over a watershed protection district.
To the building commissioner, I suggest you address them to her.
It turns out I've sent her 4 more emails and she hasn't replied to 5 emails, and I carbon copied the selectmen about 6 months ago and still received no reply from the building
This is
inspector.
the planning board, and we are talking about a permit, a new permit.
Right. I
If you have
completely.
any more questions for the new permit, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Okay, I apologize if you're getting upset, but my concern is over the contamination to the public water supply. Thank you. That's all. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
So for the record, the West Warren Water District submitted a letter with this, right, saying that as long as it stays one way.
I will read the letter.
Okay.
Read the letter, please.
July 15th, 2022, Town of Warren Planning Board, Warren, Mass. Dear board members, this letter is in regards to permit application number 302. The West Warren Water District has no issues with earth removal nor storage of filled gravel in well proposed location. However, due to the proximity of the district wells in the northeast area of the property, there is to be no storage of vehicle, gas, oil, or other chemicals within Zone 1, 400 feet of the wells without a liner. The liner would have to be approved by the West Warren Water District. Sincerely, Kathy Duncan, District Secretary.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Longren. I appreciate you reading that. Thank you, sir.
plan, can you show us that 400-foot
Yep.
buffer?
Is that from the property line or from the well? From the wells.
And from the edge of your property?
It's from the location of the wells.
Oh,
400 feet radius from that well.
Okay, probably.
yeah, so can you,
That would
okay.
be with him, but he can tell me exactly how he wants to do it.
Yeah, that would be good, then we can see that, and it'll be documented, and then everybody will know what's going on.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, I propose that we continue this meeting.
Here's up a date.
You
Here's
want
up a date.
a month, or,
Started, it should be like a couple of weeks. Mr. Goldie's doing up.
That's cutting it real close to you. You sure you're gonna be able to have it in 2 weeks?
Let's go to the second meeting of the month.
so it'll be the 26th. Yeah, that would give you plenty of time.
Yeah.
Just, and if you're not ready, we can continue again, but you might as well give the first shot, give yourself enough time.
Can you just let us know, hey, if I'm not ready, then we move it forward, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't disturb anything, it's okay to do that.
All right, so September 26th? You need to make a motion?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing on special permit number 32 for Samek Properties, to September 26th.
Do you have a
I'll
second?
second it.
All in favor?
Okay, hi.
David Dufresne, aye.
Rich Ihacker?
They didn't ask the rest of the public if they even had anything else to say.
This meeting has been continued. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Ridiculous. I'm off topic. So much for the public hearing. It's a biased public hearing.
Okay, so now we have another concluded hearing on special permit number 300. I don't see them here. No.
Did they ask how long? How long did they want to continue to?
They asked, I think we discussed it, I don't know, maybe that's what it's today. This continued to today.
Right, did you
Yeah.
hear anything from them?
I didn't call her, she was in my meeting,
They didn't get back to you?
You did call them and left a message.
to Donna.
Okay.
We don't have anything you told them?
I should just, as long as they hear it. I don't know why. They're not here.
We can follow up at the end of the meeting tonight to see if they show up, or we can just close it.
All right, we could do that.
Yeah,
What
let's-
do we wait? Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's continue to the end of the meeting.
All right.
Number 5. Angelitas Cutler Road, existing solar site. So just a reminder, which one of all of these solar project is this? Where is it? Is this in Boyle?
I dated. Yeah, I dated.
Right by you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in a butter, by the way.
No, you're not.
There's like 3 properties between me and
So this is the huge one with the uphill?
yes.
No panels on it, that.
Look at that.
No,
What are they, a modification request for detention basin 2. Is this something that?
now is this gonna push it into the buffer?
You with us tonight?
Yes, Nick Fasadol, I'm participating via Zoom. Sorry to jump in on you guys. Level
Okay.
here on behalf of the applicant, Agilitas Energy. I can give you guys a quick run through of the general request if you'd like, and then we can take questions. That helps.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. So, as you guys know, the site's been cleared and stabilized now for about a year. They're still working with the utility on final interconnection requirements and studies and things of that nature. So that's why the panels haven't been installed to date. But I don't know if anybody's been by the site. Dave certainly has. He's probably drives by it plenty. This lot's essentially fully stabilized. All the basins have been installed. Gravel driveways have been installed. Everything is essentially working per the plans. Last year we did note, through some site inspections and observations by the town's consultant, OTA Engineering, who's doing inspections on behalf of the planning board for construction, that Basin 2 wasn't draining as well as anticipated. So during the drought conditions, we scheduled a meeting with OTO and the site contractor, and we went out there after the basin had drained out and dug a few holes in the basin to try to figure out what was going on there. Were we too close to high groundwater? Were we, was there materials that were unexpected that weren't noticed when it was built? And based on the observations that we made and that OTO witnessed, everything is per the plan. The materials as expected. It's loamy sand material in the basin. It's kind of tight material, so which is maybe part of the cause why it wasn't draining. But these basins were used and constructed before the site was stabilized, so there's some sediment that has accumulated in the basin that is going to need to be cleaned out. So as part of the request, we're going to be doing some work under our existing permit that we're allowed to do, essentially maintenance of the basin. So they're going to go in there, clean out any accumulated sediment, till the bottom of the basin, and get it reseeded to establish vegetative growth in the bottom of the basin, because it hasn't been able to establish because it was wet for a prolonged period of time. Now, in doing that work, we would like to install essentially a 4-inch perforated pipe, so a drain at the bottom of the basin that's going to be connected to a valve. So if for some reason, after this work to clean the basin out and reseed the bottom, and the basin isn't draining as quickly as it needs to after multiple intense storm events like we had last summer, somebody from the maintenance staff could go open the valve, let the basin drain slowly, and then close the valve again, and the basin would continue to function as originally approved. Some other factors that likely contributed to the basin holding water for a prolonged period of time, where we did kind of convert it to a sediment basin, where we installed elbows on the outlets, some kind of like snorkel pipes. So water was forced to accumulate in the bottom of the pond, and that would help the sediment settle to the bottom. But now that the site's fully stabilized, we'd like to remove all those snorkels, get the basin cleaned out, reseeded, and while they're doing all this work and spending this money to clean out the basin, we want to install the safety valve measure, essentially, which would be the...
Now that you're done watching the end of the video, as you can see, the planning board changed their tune. They now told Mr. Samek that his application is null and void, that he cannot get a renewal on a previous expired Robert J. Fiegel permit from 2000 era. He now has to submit a brand new application including site plans. And all the other documentation that he was supposed to submit, he never did, because the planning board instructed him, don't need any of that, just fill out the piece of paper. That turned out to be a big lie in front of the planning board. That the planning board provided him wrong information and apparently promised him wrong information. So stay tuned for parts 2, 3, and 4, because they are going to be very interesting, because guess who contaminated the Brimfield Rd gravel pit, which is now the Samek property. Oh look, a Warren police Humvee, And in this picture is Bruce Bukowski, the former chief of police, right there. That is current chief Jerry Millette was driving that at the time. This video and pictures were taken back several years ago, and they were doing shooting in the Brimfield Rd property, which used to be the Feature property, now owned by Samek Properties LLC. Why is this here? Because that was the Warren Police Shooting Range for roughly 7 to 12 years. Don't have the exact information, but at least 7 to 9 years, roughly. And it was an unpermitted shooting range, and it was called the Warren Police Department Shooting Range. There was no state, federal, or town permit. It was not permitted as a shooting range. It did not have any safety precautions as a shooting range. It did not have any environmental contamination or procedures for lead and shell casings. And moving to the next picture. Oh, gee, what do you know? The 2 police chiefs are responsible, as well as other Warren police employees, for contaminating that property. That's Bruce Bukowski with his bright gold badge. Right there is Jerry Millette in the gray shirt. If I go to this picture, definitely Jerry Millette, right there with sunglasses. Police plate, Warren Police Humvee. So if you're West Warren Water District or Warren Water District customer and your water contains chemicals or is polluted, guess who to blame? The 2 police chiefs and former Warren police officers. Additional pictures coming, and these are in town records, in the Board of Health's office, in the Board of Selectmen's office, in the town clerk's office, are additional records. These are just 3 that I decided to show you. Reed Street contamination from before. Of course, nobody in the town wants another Reed Street contamination issue. Confirmed hazardous waste sites that are under investigation or at various stages of enforcement and remedial action. April 1985. Right there, what do you know? Town of Warren, S&S Automotive, Reed Street contamination, Samek Property. Oh, I just showed you the application is Samek, and the Samek family is responsible for contaminating Reed Street. Illegal disposal of drums containing hazardous waste occurred at this site and on the property next to the site, contaminating the soils. Who is the owner of S&S Automotive? Oh, gee, I have that too from the DEP records from the 1980s. Raymond Samek, S-A-M-E-K. Principal Office of S&S Automotive, Reed Street, Warren, Massachusetts. So now you know why, if you're a Warren Water District customer or a West Warren District customer, you should be contacting and attending these planning board meetings for Samek Property LLC because, again, the selectmen, David Dufresne, Derek Valise, Richard Ihacker, all have these records of Warren police from previous years contaminating Brimfield Rd property. So yes, you should be concerned. You should be attending these meetings. You should be asking the 3 selectmen during a Warren Planning Board meeting, why did they allow, and why did 2 sets of previous selectmen and 2 sets of planning board members prior to them contaminate the property and endanger your water supply? So stay tuned. As I said, parts 2, 3, and 4 are going to be very interesting.